In the headlines, farmers struggle with high fertilizer costs in dry season. Senate to probe fake death reports on Akpabio and go on. Kano fights rising drug abuse cases. And away from Nigeria, Sierra Leone ends Mpox outbreak. Hello, good evening and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Cucumber and tomato farmers in Bauchi State have decried the rising cost of fertilizer, describing it as a major setback to dry season irrigation farming. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports on how farmers are coping with the challenge.
Dry season farming is widely regarded as capital intensive, largely due to uncertainties that can either result in high profit or significant losses. This year, cucumber farmers in Firo community, Ganjua local government area of Bauchi State, say the high cost of fertilizer, combined with the sudden crash in prices of perishable produce, has made their expectations unpredictable. Honestly, our marketers, especially the middlemen, buy our produce at very low prices and then sell it much higher at the perishable goods market in Jos. We are not happy about this. A sack now sells for between 3,000–4,000 naira, unlike before when we sold for up to 20,000 naira per bag. The major problem is the high cost of fertilizer, which is not favorable to us at all. The price of cucumber has crashed, although that is the nature of perishable produce. Another issue is that farmers rush to maximize profit instead of using proper cultivation methods. Because these crops are seasonal, this has become one of the major challenges we face. Our prayer is for government support. Irrigation farming requires a lot of capital. In some cases, the market is not favorable, and with the rising cost of fertilizer, many farmers have already given up, even though this is our major occupation. Meanwhile, an agricultural expert says many farmers are not fully taking advantage of market opportunities that could help reduce risk.
To know who is going to buy your own output and at what time does that person need that output. That is one of the major things. Then now you organize yourself in that particular area you are planting. Organize yourself in the sense that, okay, let's say this group of people should plant their own in 2 weeks. Then after the next 2 weeks, others will plant. After the next 2 weeks, others will plant. So that when this output is coming, you find out when this one has arrived, this one started fruiting, and the other one is setting flowers, etc. That's why what will prevent the growth in the market. So therefore, you can find out that it will not be too much. The market will not be choked.
Although reports indicate that Federal Ministry of Agriculture has rolled out plans aimed at easing farmers' burdens through grants and palliative support. Adami Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Now talking security, troops of the Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace have killed a suspected kidnapper and arrested 3 alleged informants during an operation in Jos North local government area of Plateau State. The media information officer of the task force, Major Samson Zakom, said the operation followed credible intelligence received on December 15th about a kidnapping attempt in Dong community. According to him, troops swiftly responded to the distress call and engaged the suspects, forcing them to flee the area. Major Zakom explained that while retreating, the suspects moved into a neighboring community where they abducted 4 persons, prompting a pursuit by the troops. He said the chase resulted in a firefight during which one kidnapper was neutralized. Items recovered from the suspects include one AK-47 rifle, a magazine, and 4 rounds of 7.62 millimeters special ammunition. The military also arrested 3 suspected informants accused of aiding the kidnappers. Suspected terrorists have struck again in Kwara State, killing 2 residents in Ifelodun local government area, further heightening concerns over the deteriorating security situation in the state. A source said the attack occurred along the road linking the Babanla and Oreke communities. According to the source, the victims were on an errand to purchase food for members of their community when they were ambushed and killed by the assailants. A video from the scene showed 2 lifeless bodies lying in pools of blood. The footage also captured local vigilantes and officers of the Nigeria police force inspecting the bodies and securing the area. Kwara State has in recent months recorded a surge in terrorist attacks and kidnappings, particularly in rural communities, raising serious concerns among residents about the capacity of security agencies to protect lives and property. Despite repeated assurances from authorities, residents say fear now dominates daily life as attacks continue unabated in parts of the state. A 14-year-old girl, Ummi, from Ibeto town in Magama local government area of Niger State, has died from an undisclosed ailment after spending over 2 months in captivity of terrorists. Ummi was kidnapped alongside 16 others on October 1, 2025, when terrorists stormed Ibeto town in large numbers. Daily Trust gathered that another abductee, Safina, gave birth to a baby boy in captivity. Safina was reportedly heavily pregnant at the time she was kidnapped during the attack on the town. Sources said the news of Ummi's death and Safina's childbirth was broken to their families on Monday, December 15, 2025. At least 4 people were killed while 9 others were injured during the attack, which occurred in broad daylight on October 1, 2025. Confirming the development, Zachary Adamu Kwantogura, a journalist based in Kwantogura, said Ummi, whose age was between 13 and 14 years, died due to her illness. Now, unknown gunmen operating in a tricycle have kidnapped a 2-month-old child in Warri, Delta State. The incident occurred on Monday at around 4 p.m. along the NNPC bypass near Delta Carriers College, Warri, when Rita Ogale, the mother of the infant, was traveling with her child, 2 children, in a tricycle. Was traveling with her 2 children in a tricycle. According to Ogale, the male passenger pulled out a gun and demanded her 2-month-old baby. Ogale said the man then pushed her and her other child out of the tricycle and took the baby along with her phone number. The matter has been reported to the police, and Ogale is appealing to anyone with information that can help recover her child to contact the nearest police station. The Senate on Tuesday directed the Office of the National Security Advisor, NSA, to investigate and identify those behind the spread of false reports alleging the deaths of Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former head of state General Yakubu Gowon. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion raised during plenary by Senator Titus Zam, who expressed concern over what he described as a disturbing rise in misinformation and fake news circulating on social media platforms. Moving the motion, Zam lamented that social media had recently been flooded with reports claiming that Akpabio had died in a London hospital, even though the Senate president was alive, well, and presiding over plenary sessions at the National Assembly. He further drew the attention of lawmakers to a similar false report concerning Gowon, noting that rumors of the former head of state that were widely circulated on the same day he was publicly cited attending a Christmas carol service in Abuja. In his response, Akpabio acknowledged the reports and described the trend as a growing and troubling phenomenon. The Senate President sustained the motion and ruled that the matter be formally referred to the Office of the National Security Advisor for a diligent and comprehensive investigation to uncover those behind the falsehoods. The Senate Committee on Finance has begun deliberations on Nigeria's 2026 to 2028 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, a critical document guiding the nation's fiscal planning over the next 3 years. The framework, which aligns with the Fiscal Responsibility Act, is designed to provide a foundation for future annual budgets and ensure fiscal discipline. The report.
At the interactive session, lawmakers engaged key ministries, departments, and agencies with the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, while leading the federal government's presentation. During the session, senators expressed concerns over delays in the implementation of the capital components of the 2024 and 2025 Appropriation Acts.
So since 2025 budget has been enacted as a law, not until that is either amended or repealed. And when you say you are taking it over, we assume that you are taking exactly what is in the act to now create the next Appropriation Act. So we need that explanation. Then just take note, Honorable Minister.
What is making it impossible for you to implement the budget? Because Appropriation Act is a law related to each year, which you must comply with. Since you have the money, there's no request you have made to this Senate that has not been given to you, and we adopt as a rubber stamp. So what is your problem? Why are you rolling over budget of 2025 to 2026 instead of extension?
There's nothing wrong, like you said, and I agree with you absolutely, that it will amount to waste if you start a project and you pay 30% of that project, and in the next budget, that project is not captured. Money already spent on it is as good as thrown away. So the logic of continuing, I understand. But the language of rollover, I do not. So I think I understand you to mean, and that should be the case, that never again should we implement more than one budget.
Responding, Minister Edun assured the committee that full funding of the 2024 capital budget has been secured and released. He also disclosed that about 30% of the 2025 capital allocation is currently available for implementation.
When we look at borrowing, we have roughly 152 trillion naira outstanding. And that figure was about 70 trillion naira in 2023 or so. But what accounts for the difference? 30 trillion, as we all know, was the bringing into the light, bringing into the books of the government of ways and means that were previously just ignored and kept outside. Another 50 trillion was accounted for by the fact that the exchange rate doubled. I mean, central bank in its monetary policy focused on clearing backlogs and bringing in foreign reserves, and we know how successful they have been.
Looking ahead, the minister announced that the federal government has issued circulars to all MDAs, mandating a revenue optimization program for 2026. The initiative prioritizes automation and technology, requiring all government payments to be processed through digital platforms to improve efficiency, transparency, and revenue collection.
Right now, funding is fully available for the 2024 capital budget that has been finalized and is in the gateway up to September. Funding is available for a portion, and the other portion, the plan is to roll it over to 2026 budget. Likewise, for the 2025 capital budget, funding has been made, warrants have been issued, and funding is available for 30% of that budget, with the plan, with the cooperation and the support of the National Assembly to roll over the 75%.
Other officials include the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adediji, and the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, also briefed lawmakers on challenges affecting budget implementation.
All mentioned here today that we have 2024. We are in 2025. But you have 1 year revenue. Use it to manage 2-year budget. So even if you met the 1 year revenue, how will you hear the Honorable Minister say, I'm paying 2024. Whereas you are taking 2025 revenue to pay 2024. So when Mr. President said, when we said, because as of the work we've all done, that we've met revenue target, which is annually. But you are using 1 year revenue to manage more than 1 year budget. That is why you are seeing the outstanding.
Some of the measures we have taken have implications that were not immediately obvious. The impact of the 22.7 trillion naira securitization is still being felt in terms of interest costs, particularly rising interest costs. But more importantly, not only rising interest costs, almost the inability to go to the central bank when we have demand beyond the legal limits.
The agreement marks a significant step towards strengthening Nigeria's fiscal planning and economic stability ahead of the 2026-2028 budget cycle.
In other news, the federal government has directed an immediate suspension on all enforcement actions relating to the proposed ban on sachet alcohol and 200 milliliter PET bottle products pending the conclusion of consultations and the issuance of a final policy directive. A directive was issued by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation following concerns raised by the House of Representatives Committee on Food and Drugs Administration and Control. In a statement released by Terence Kwanum, Special Advisor on Public Affairs to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation confirmed receipt of an official correspondence from the House Committee dated November 13, 2025. According to the office, the issues raised in the correspondence are currently under review in line with his statutory role as Chairman of the Cabinet Secretariat and Coordinating Authority for Government Policy Implementation. This is News Update on Trust TV coming up after the break. We'll take a look at how Kano is fighting rising drug abuse cases. This and many more when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just joining, this is News Update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We told you that farmers struggle with high fertilizer costs in dry season. And Senate to probe fake vet reports on Akpabio and go on. Moving on to more stories, drug use among young men and women often triggers domestic violence and fuels street-level criminality. In response, the state government, religious institutions, and civil society groups are intensifying awareness campaigns focused on prevention and early intervention. The report.
Drug use among young men and women often triggers domestic violence and fuels street-level criminality. In response, the state government, religious institutions, and civil society groups are intensifying awareness campaigns focused on prevention and early intervention. The Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, believes community-based strategies are key to reducing the demand for drugs.
We must remind ourselves that our forefathers built systems of accountability, moral upbringing, mentorship, and communal responsibility. In those days, every child belonged to the entire community. Every elder was a moral compass. Every palace, mosque, and family compound served as a center for discipline, wisdom, and rehabilitation. We must bring back those values, not as relics of the past, but as tools for building a safer, healthier, and more resilient Kano.
The role of the media is not left out, as veteran Kannywood practitioner Sani Musa Danja highlights the importance of using film and entertainment to educate young people and discourage drug abuse.
Going further, we still use celebrities, people that are role models. They should come out, they should talk to the youth, they should talk to the people. They should show in so many different places, using skits, using movies, using a lot of ways. to tackle, because sometimes those youths don't listen to other means apart from role models. They are always on their social media, their Facebook, their Instagram, their TikTok, and whatever. So you attack them wherever they go.
While enforcement efforts continue, experts insist that prevention and rehabilitation must go hand in hand. For many young people in Kano, the fight against drug abuse is ultimately a fight for their future. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
The All Progressives Congress APC has won all 27 local government chairmanship positions in the recently conducted local government elections in Borno State. The Borno State Independent Electoral Commission announced the results after collating results from the 27 local government returning officers at its headquarters in Maiduguri. Chairman of the commission, Dahiru Shatima, while declaring the winners, described the elections as peaceful, inclusive, transparent and fair. He stated that opposition parties were not denied participation in the process, despite their decision to withdraw from the polls. Shatima urged the newly elected chairman to ensure good governance, provide basic amenities, and promote inclusive leadership at the grassroots level. He also added that results for the councillorship elections will be announced at a later date.
While trying to carry out our responsibilities, I want to reiterate once again that we have never, ever shortchanged any political party. Neither we do not create any roadblock to any political party that is interested in contesting. After a lot of publicity, after a lot of meetings and what have you, only 6 political parties that participated in this election. So I would like to urge other political parties. It is only when you test the soup that you will know whether the soup is sweet or sour or not sweet. They should have come forward to participate before they make a generalized statement. But for not participating and you make a general statement, I think that is not fair and that is not in conformity with election procedure across the globe. What we have done is surely going to deepen democracy and the grassroots. And that I urge the elected chairman to be focused and to show determination.
And now in business, Nigeria earned about 12.81 trillion naira from crude oil exports in the third quarter of this year, according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The latest foreign trade and goods statistics released by the Bureau noted that crude oil alone accounted for 56.14% of the country's total exports in the third quarter of 2025, signaling a rebound in oil export receipts within the year. Although the value of crude oil exports declined slightly by 4.47% year-on-year from 13.41 trillion naira recorded in the third quarter of 2024, it rose by 7.03% quarter-on-quarter compared with 11.97 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2025. The upward movement underlines the continued centrality of the petroleum sector to foreign exchange earnings. Mineral products, largely driven by crude oil and petroleum gases, were valued at 20.01 trillion naira, accounting for 87.71% of total export in the third quarter of 2025. A breakdown of export data highlighted the overwhelming influence of oil and oil-related commodities. Now, away from Nigeria, Sierra Leone has declared its mpox outbreak over, bringing an end to a 2-year public health emergency that recorded more than 5,000 cases and at least 60 deaths across the country. The announcement comes nearly 1 year after authorities first declared an mpox emergency following the confirmation of 2 cases outside the capital, Freetown. Despite the declaration, many survivors say they continue to face stigma and discrimination, making it difficult for them to rebuild their lives. Even after recovery, Mpox survivors report being rejected by family members, losing their jobs, and struggling to reintegrate into their communities. They attribute this to widespread misinformation, fear, and mistrust of public health messages. One survivor, Nelson Johnson, who recovered from the virus in May, began raising awareness in June through the Sierra Leone Epidemic Action Network in an effort to combat stigma and support fellow survivors. Johnson says advocacy against misinformation is a critical first step towards ending discrimination and helping survivors regain acceptance in the society. Health experts note that the outbreak was particularly challenging in Sierra Leone due to the rare occurrence of genital lesions amongst many patients, a factor that fueled stigma and complicated efforts to break the chain of transmission. And now in sports, the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has confirmed that it has initiated a probe into the alleged use of ineligible players by the Democratic Republic of Congo during the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, a development that could reopen Nigeria's path to the tournament in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. DR Congo eliminated Nigeria from the African playoffs in November after a dramatic 4-3 penalty shootout victory in Morocco, a result that appeared to end the Super Eagles' hopes of progressing to the FIFA Intercontinental Play-Off. Following that win, the Congolese side was handed a bye into the final of the Intercontinental Playoff tournament, where they are scheduled to face the winner of the semi-final between New Caledonia and Jamaica. However, their participation at that stage may now be in doubt after the NFF raised concerns over the eligibility of several DR Congo players fielded during the African playoffs. Reports suggest that between 6 and 9 DR Congo players who switched national allegiance may not have fully complied with eligibility requirements under Congolese law before representing the country. While FIFA reportedly cleared the players on the basis that they possessed valid DR Congo passports, it is alleged that they failed to formally renounce their previous citizenships, a requirement under the country's constitution, which does not permit dual nationality. Confirming the developments, NFF General Secretary Dr. Mohamed Sanusi said the Federation has formally faulted the players' nationality switch and is pursuing the matter through the appropriate channels. And that's a wrap on news updates. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Thank you for watching.